From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.
Let's hope he stops talking in the background and not paying attention to me. Hi everybody, this is Eric Wiltsher. Postcard from Poprad is the programme at the base of the glorious Tatras Mountains, where it's lovely and sunny and beautiful and wonderful, and Mr. Banks is talking like a fool to somebody else. He's just not paying attention. What would you... Well...
I was talking very intelligently, actually.
Was you?
I was. I wasn't talking like a fool.
What is it? Are you having tablets today?
Yeah, I've got sensible tablets, can't you tell?
Hi everybody. This is Leigh Banks, and laughing in the background, she's clearly got giggle-itis today. It's none other than Rachel Brunsden.
Hello. I have and I haven't.
You have and you haven't. Yeah, I understand the logic of that, because we're going to come to that in a minute. But I've got to try and grab a guy who's under huge demand for obvious reasons today, because it's the day when the new American president goes live and does stuff and everything. And hopefully, I've got him there now from...
Hey, guys.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
It's working.
You didn't believe me it would work, did you?
Well, you know, I've used these on some trips, and sometimes they're so clean, and sometimes it sounds like you're at the bottom of an ocean. You know, I like two minds upside.
I do like the analogy, but for obvious reasons, but I won't go there. But some of your friends will tell you that Eric has a little moment with the technology every now and again, and we cheat a little bit to make things work better. Anyway, boys and girls, if you don't know who it is, it's Tom Rivers. He's from ABC. He's actually the big boss sort of bloke at the bureau in London, so behave. And Tom's agreed to join us to kind of explain to us all this, what's going on in America, because us Europeans, we're just bemused by it all, Tom. What's going on?
It is a long, long day, Eric. It really, really is. You know, the actual oath, the important part, as spelled out in the Constitution, it's only 35 words. So in essence, this could boil down to about 1 minute, say the oath, and then go do your business. But no, it begins with meetings. We have the actual ceremony. We have a lunch at the White House. We have balls, a number of balls in D.C. And we have roughly 1 million people rocking up to take it all in and breathe it in.
So... This is just too much for me to cope with, Tom. I'm a very simple Englishman. I cannot understand what's going on. So the man stands there for like 30 seconds, says yes. It's a bit like going to a wedding, really, isn't it? Says yes, and...
Sort of. Exactly.
And then...
And of course, he's got two Bibles. He's got a Bible that Abe Lincoln took the oath on. He's got his own personal Bible that his mom gave him when he was... I don't know how old he was. He's a young lad. It was back in 1955, so maybe about 10-ish. So that's kind of it. And you agree to uphold the Constitution, and then the real work begins. He says he's going to get his pen out, Eric, and start changing things today.
No.
Things like Obamacare, watch things about immigration, maybe the wall, who knows. We'll figure it out by the end of the day.
But so Tom, what normally happens? He's had his hands on the Bible, bless him, done all that bit. And where would he be now, sort of, ish?
He's over, it's called Bush House, where he's sleeping, spending the day, getting up about now, I would guess, preparing for the day, preparing to head on down Pennsylvania Avenue. And the fact is that the forecasters say it's supposed to rain. And in his little speech yesterday in kind of the opening concert out there by the Lincoln Memorial, he said, look, I don't care if it's sunny or if it rains. He says, makes no difference to me. I'm here to take care of business. And he says, basically, watch this space. And he used the words change. He said, we want change. The people have voted for change. We talked about this ad infinitum about the Rust Belt people with their own kind of revolution this particular election. And he says, we want not just hope and change. He says, we want, underscoring that, real change. It is if you will, a nod to the outgoing president.
Right, well, you're going to have to do a bit of translation for us again, Tom, because, again, a lot of my friends out here won't understand what the Rust Belt is because they go, is it part of a car or something?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. If you think about
I suppose it is, yes.
The car. Let's talk about that. People that for decades have kind of been ignored or get tapped on the shoulder every 4 years by the politicians of the two opposing main parties. And they're kind of the blue-collar workers. They're the miners. They're the steel workers. They're the auto workers. And they say, you know what? It doesn't matter who's in office. Our lives have been going down, and down for the last 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly Trump understood that. And he ran with this populist mentality. And Hillary Clinton, by contrast, said, you know, the Democrats are traditionally strong in these areas. And these workers knew that. And they say, no, you make no difference. You ain't got the right stuff. We're voting for change, real different change this time around. So we'll see how it plays out, Eric.
So if he's appealing to your average Joe and Jenny on the street,
Mm-hmm.
which is clearly what he went for, how is the business community coping with him?
Well, they're looking at America that's seen jobs go overseas now for a long period of time. And they're going to say, look, how can we make a nickel back in the good old red, white, and blue U.S. of A.? And I think they're willing to play ball. And there are going to be some programs to keep companies in the U.S., some incentives to say, look, don't build your next factory in Mexico, build it in Flint, Michigan, and we're probably going to give you some tax concessions, et cetera, to do.
So hang on, he's actually just doing normal business stuff then?
Well, in a sense, he's doing the business stuff for the businesses, but as he says, it's all about jobs, bringing the jobs back home to America. And Eric, they've been going. You talk about the unemployment rate has dropped under Obama the past few years, which is good. But those jobs are not the good jobs people had 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So people are working, but they're flipping burgers, 2 or 3 different jobs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And instead of going to work at the factory where you had a job for life, where you had a pension, et cetera, those days, many people are saying are gone. Trump says, no, we can bring it back. Let's revitalize that.
Right. So in other words, he's being a businessman, negotiating deals with people, getting the jobs in. So why the heck is everybody getting in their backside about him?
I think it's because the country, as you know, through this, we've never seen a campaign like this, Eric.
It was horrible.
And the whole country is so polarized. So in essence, you got half the country looking forward to this blank canvas saying change is going to happen. We hope it's good change. Maybe it'll be bad change, but we're looking forward to change. The other side of the country is saying, look, our candidate did not win, and we don't like that. So there's going to be some protests. In fact, there's all these women are going out marching, I guess, tomorrow, a lot of locations in America. So they're going to get out there and they're going to protest, which is their right. But we'll see exactly, the impact of that. At some stage, people are going to have to come to the realization that this guy is the president, and, America has to get behind their leader and go forward. See what program he rolls out and how quickly.
Right. Okay. Now, moving on to your colleagues and well, actually, yeah, some of my colleagues as well, as it goes, in the media in the USA. President-elect Trump, he goes onto Twitter in 30 seconds, says that it's his only way of quantifying the truth. Yeah. How are your colleagues coping with that? It must be weird.
Well, in essence, they don't have a choice. It is the new way of doing business. And guess what? We have to roll with the punches and get used to that. And yes, we're out there clicking like everybody else is clicking to get the latest Twitter tweets and figure out exactly what's going on. It is up to him to set the agenda. If he wants to go that way, that's the way the rest of us have to follow. And we really can't persuade him to do anything different if that's how he's made his mind up.
Well, that's how he got voted in, wasn't it? That's
correct.
Absolutely.
It is going against the orthodox political machine. And we saw the changes. Brexit sort of began it. We saw it with Trump. We got some key elections, as you know, on the continent, France,
Yep.
The Netherlands, Germany coming up. So watch your space. People are in a mood, it seems like globally, to change or not go down the same road. Or if you're holding, in poker parlance, a lousy hand, sometimes it's opportune to fold and just call for a new hand. And I think a lot of people are doing that around the world.
Well, exactly, and I think one of the strongest points there, and I'm going to ask Leigh and Rachel just to drop in a sec. But one of the key things was the relationship, or not relationship, the start of one between Mr. Putin and President-elect Trump, where there's almost some kind of connection of two alpha males going, yeah, okay, we'll try this.
Yeah. In fact, Trump even said, look, he hopes it'll be a good relationship, but he says he really doesn't know if it will or not. But it seems very, very curious in the final days of the Obama administration, and relations really have been as bad as they've been since the Cold War, but then to ship in 2,700 armor pieces into northern Germany, moved on to Poland and other countries now.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of ratcheting up some of the tension.
Right.
And Trump said basically, look, we're going to try to be friends with Putin and try to solve some problems together. Mm-hmm. Case in point, Syria, absolutely no coordination between Washington and Moscow. Basically, Russia took the ball, ran with it themselves in going against ISIS. Maybe in the future, you'll be seeing, we'll see Trump and Putin working together on issues mostly terrorism related, but other issues as well, and seeing if they can both work collectively for the benefit of all.
Okay, well, I want to come on to food in a minute, Tom. But before I do that, because I'm really interested to know what they have at the president's thingy later on, because, as you know, I've got a slightly large girth. But I'm going to hand the mantle over to Leigh for one from him and one from Rachel. Say hi to Tom, Leigh.
How'd you do?
Hey, Leigh, how you doing?
All right, mate. Yeah, good. Interesting what you're saying.
What do we got? What's the question?
Basically, I just wonder the backlash that we've seen across the world, where Trump is seen as a buffoon. That really is the general attitude, as a very dangerous buffoon. Do you know from your experience of covering his career, his life, his campaign, that the man is a buffoon or he isn't?
I think he's pretty savvy, and he comes across and uses the language of the common man, and he kind of understands what makes people tick. He got elected when nobody said he could. He went against 16 people in the Republican Party 18 months ago, and guess what? He's the last man standing. So you got to give him some credit on that score. Where he goes from here, again, we'll see some protests. But again, I think people are going to have to eventually say, I criticize him for this program or that policy, as opposed to just discounting him just because they don't like the way he speaks.
So he isn't a buffoon. I don't think he's a buffoon at all. Right. It's just the general view. So the man's not a buffoon. The other part of the question is dead simple. Is he as dangerous as we all appear to think he is?
Well, again, the proof will be in the pudding.
We're all dead.
Compare and contrast. I don't know if you caught it Wednesday. We had President Obama's last press conference, and he's a great speaker by comparison. Having said that, his foreign policy was very, very checkered at best. Look at Libya. Look at the influence in Syria. Look at the selling of a lot of billions of dollars worth of arms to Saudi Arabia, which were dumped on the people of Yemen. Look at his drone policy, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people would say, he's a smooth talker, but those were pretty dangerous things in and of themselves. And Trump's policies are very, very different. to Obama's. So I think people are going to have to wait, on issue by issue by issue to see exactly, where they filter out. And who really is the dangerous one or not.
Okay, well, let's move on to Rachel, because I know Tom's got so many people on. And Tom, I do thank you so much for sparing the time to come and talk to us a little lot. It's very kind of you. Rach, over to you.
Hi, Tom. I could spend hours asking you questions because I'm fascinated by this, but the most important question I can think of while I have this golden opportunity is these Bibles that he's going to be inaugurated with and swear on. How big are they? How big are they? Are they small? Because the man's got the tiniest hands on the planet.
I think they're like average. I've seen pictures of them. The Abe Lincoln Bible looks like it was pretty well read through a few times. Okay, let's put it that way. I haven't seen his personal Bible, but again, I think they're about normal size, and I guess you'll cope okay.
I hope so. Melania is next to him. She's got pretty big hands.
Yeah, exactly. And Tom, because it's lunchtime and I do love my food, any ideas what's going to be on the menu tonight?
I tell you, well, not about tonight, but I know right after the actual swearing in, which happens about noon Eastern time, which is about, let me translate, about 6 p.m. European time.
Yeah, 6 p.m. CET, 5 p.m. UK. Yeah.
Exactly. They're going to be sitting down after having lunch, and at that lunch, they're going to have some nice beef. And I tell you, the thing that really gets me going, they're going to have some nice lobster. I believe it's from Maine, but I would just have that for my hors d'oeuvre, my main course, and my dessert, and leave it at that.
Yeah, you and me both. But if he's having beef, that's fine with me. Absolutely fine with me. It's just got to be done. Tom, a million thanks for coming on and joining us. I know you're really busy today. Lovely to talk to you. And we'll look forward to talking to you again sometime. Maybe in August, Tom.
I think we'll definitely meet up in August.
You're on. Tommy Rivers, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure. Cheers, mate. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Tom Rivers from now ABC in London. But before that, he had a different career, which we can maybe talk about in August, as we said earlier. And many thanks to him for that. We're now going to be serious, boys and girls, because we like a little bit of fun on the programme. But now I'm going to hand the reins over to Rachel. She's on the spot. She's in Melbourne. And it's just horrific what's been happening there. And as Mr. Trump says, some idiot reporting as well, Rach.
Yes. Okay, so the short story is that a gentleman this morning was involved in a stabbing, and he stabbed his brother. I'm unsure as to whether this gentleman has died or not, but he stabbed his brother, and then in a very bizarre twist, while there was a live cross to the scene by a Channel 9 reporter, he pulled up in his car in the background and started pointing and saying things and carrying on. And nobody realised it was him, because why would they? But the footage is everywhere now, so that's very peculiar. He then took off over the side of the city, apparently took a woman hostage in his car, and she was able to later escape. And then he went into the middle of Melbourne's CBD. It was lunchtime on a Friday, and remember also that it's still school holidays here. So it was packed to the rafters, right in the centre. He then took off down Swanston Street on the footpath most of the time, because most of Swanston Street is actually blocked off to traffic. It's only available for trams. Right. So he was thwarted by bollards. So he jumped up on the footpath and just went for it, and then turned down Burke Street, which is our major street where our shopping mall is, and ploughed through people with absolutely no regard to who he was hitting or what he was hitting. So at this point in time, and there's a new report out just really, like moments ago, 3 people had died on the scene, but a 4th has now died. One of the people who's died is a child, and there are now 4 other children in hospital. One of them very critical, and that's a 3-month-old baby. I can't even wrap my head around the story. 20 odd people were injured. And he went down 3 city blocks. There were injured people down 3 city blocks. A city block in Melbourne is about 500 metres. So that's a kilometre and a half, basically, of injured people all on the side. Now, the reason why I'm so incensed about this is because He's known to police. This is not a terrorist attack.
I was going to say to you, Rach, do you know his background at all?
Yeah, he was. He's a menace. He's a 26-year-old menace known to police for a lot of domestic violence charges. The Victorian Commissioner of Police this afternoon said he's known to us. We've had incidents with him this week with domestic violence, but he also said something very interesting, and that was last weekend he was charged with something. Now, when you're charged in this country, two things can happen to you. Number one is that you will be remanded in custody because you're deemed dangerous or a flight risk or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the other is that you will get bail. So my assumption is that he was out on bail. That's yet to be absolutely confirmed, but it seems that he was out on bail.
Right.
The Victorian government has come under fire in recent years for being very soft on crime and having terrible records with keeping people in prison, and then people get out of prison and commit more crimes, and serial offenders are getting paroled and bailed and so forth and so on, and then committing more horrendous crimes. Case in point, today. So the Victorian government has a lot to answer for, and they're going to have to answer for it in the next week, easily. Mm-hmm. But this is just so devastating. I then jump online, because jumping online is a dangerous thing to do when everybody's upset.
Yes.
Because there's, misinformation and people reporting the wrong things. Some 6 hours later, after this happened, the New York Times printed a story about this, and there was remember the terrorist attack that was foiled just before Christmas in Melbourne?
Yep.
There was a terror plot that the police foiled. They mentioned that in this article.
Why?
Now, I don't know. The Victorian Commissioner was very clear in his press conference that this was not terror-related at all. So that happened 6 hours later. The New York Times did not say it was terror-related, but put a terrorist angle on this story. And I was incensed. The very second they published it, I read it and made a comment telling them that it was very, very dangerous to do that because it was completely untrue. There was no reason to mention that them foiling that attack and relating it to this. They should have reported that it was not a terror attack. And I was not alone. I was the first, but I was not alone. And various other people said it. The New York Times rewrote it and republished it.
Really?
Protested. Yes.
Well done, Rachel. Yes.
But they made this paragraph still. It said that we were on edge because of this foiled. Mm-hmm. The city was on edge because since this foiled terror attack, which is untrue. We weren't on edge. It was a foiled attack. We're on edge because dinglings are out doing stupid things with their vehicles.
Well,
we're
that's
on
true.
edge because crime's at its peak. That's why we're on edge. And I thought, you still want to imply this is a terrorist attack. You haven't rewritten it well enough for my liking. But we had a crack, and
you got
we're going to find out more.
You got something done anyway.
Well, we did, but.
Can I just ask a quick question, Rach?
Yes.
Is Melbourne on any kind of terror alert?
Not that I'm aware of, honestly. I mean, the whole world's on some sort of terror alert.
Well, yeah. And I'm just wondering, you see, I would say the fact that there was a terrorism attack, which was foiled. I don't think the New York Times were actually saying that it was a terrorism attack. What they were saying is that the city has been on alert since the terrorism attack, and this comes as a shock because of that. I can see where you're coming from, but I don't think they were really they it was.
No, that's what they wrote after they amended it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What they wrote before that was not what that was not it at all. They were outwardly implying that it was a terrorist attack. They should have said from the get-go, this is not a terrorist attack, and they never said it. They did after we protested, but they didn't say it beforehand. But the thing that...
So, Rach, just a sec. When they rewrote the story, did they rewrite it in the fashion that Leigh was indicating they should have written it in?
Yes,
right.
They did.
Okay.
But there's no need to bring that up. One has nothing to do with the other, and it was just silliness. And I thought I love the New York Times, and I said to them in my rant to them after the first article came out, I said, I really expected a lot better from you. This is not tabloid journalism. Come on, and apparently they did. So that's good. But the thing that baffles me is. The other thing, too, that baffles me is this guy has a history with violence and drugs. Now, the ice epidemic in Melbourne is it's prolific. It's pandemic. And something needs to be done. We need to be putting resources into that. We also need to be putting more resources into mental health. And we need the government to pull their finger out and do something about keeping people incarcerated who are a danger. And that is really the crux of it. I think we need to focus on those things. Terrorism, everybody's scared of terrorism. But it's interesting, isn't it? The world we live in now, it's the go-to when something bad happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your first thought is terrorist attack.
But you'd think, though, Rach, if he's drugged up to the eyeballs, he's into all this violence, has been arrested God knows how many times, how the heck has he kept a driving licence?
Well, I mean, I don't think if he had one or not it was going to stop him, Uncle Eric.
Yeah,
I mean,
if he's that high on drugs, he might not be worried about not having a driving licence.
Well, got a car even.
Well, he's certainly got a car. It doesn't look very well now, but you know, and the police actually shot him, but they shot him in the arm, as far as I understand, and he's now in hospital as well. But my goodness me, he's killed 4 people, and one of them being a child. Yeah, it's horrific. These people were minding their own business in the middle of the city in a mall where cars don't go.
Yeah, I know. You can't even get into the head of somebody like that, can you? He's just not.
You just can't. It's frightening. But I'll keep you all updated. And
Thank you.
Also am incensed by various things, and I'll be writing some choice articles for Uncle Leigh's Consumer Watch Foundation.
She certainly will, and we're looking forward to that.
I like the way she got the plug in.
Well, yeah, no, looking forward to it, and we'll stand up for what Rachel's saying.
But I think you come in immediately. But I think the one thing that we haven't done and we should do is pass our condolences over to all those poor families who now on a Friday/Saturday have got to cope with the horrific loss of just people going shopping, and that's not funny.
Yeah. True, yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I just say that Melbourne is actually on terrorism alert. I think it's a level 5 alert, which is quite high, and basically because of the attack, the supposed terrorism attack at Christmas, and so really, I think the New York Times overstated the case, but it's perfectly legitimate to say that something has happened in the town where this happened. Yeah. News has got to give a full image of what is happening at that time. Television can do that, and newspapers have to do it with verbal images, and that's really.
Yeah, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Sometimes you get it.
It's just one of those things. We move on because we have got so much to get through. The terrible avalanche that's taken place alongside a couple of earthquakes as well, albeit smaller ones, but I'm sure the avalanche had something that was sort of connected to it in Italy. Some bodies have been found in there. They are still treating it, I just checked a moment ago, as a search and rescue situation as opposed to just a recovery situation, which does lead us to hold the view that something might happen. And as one of the paramedics said, so I was watching the Italian news wires, people have got out of this sort of situation after 3 days before, so they weren't prepared to give up hope. And I thought, do you know what? I really respect that guy.
Well, I think, they found 6 people alive 2 days after it happened in the hotel, and they've been trapped, so they were freezing to death. The problem is, if you've not been killed by the avalanche, you're actually in danger of freezing.
Yeah, hypothermia. Death.
Yeah, but they found these 6 people, and that's what's given them hope that there will be more people there to be found. And I did an avalanche story in Italy about 2 decades ago. We went out there to cover it, and in these circumstances, whether it's Italy, America, England, or wherever, we don't get avalanches in England really, but the way that the rescuers work and put their hearts and souls into trying to find survivors is just heartbreakingly dramatic and makes you proud to be one of the few things that makes you proud to be a human being at the moment.
I just got a quick question about these disasters that happen in freezing cold. There's a medical. I've read before that in medical emergencies it's actually better to have people trapped in freezing cold.
That's right.
Because of the hypothermia. Hypothermia is not good for you, but if you're bleeding, it's going to slow it down, and you go into a more preserved state rather than if you were in the blistering heat.
Yeah, it's the same here, Rach, when you'll often get a case where if there are, they're very rare actually in the Tatras, as Leigh will verify for me, which is good, but the amount of times where in the last 12 years of actually living here, there's a story which leads because of being cold. It saved the patient's life. And that can be the same with just, pain from broken limbs, which can in certain cases overpower a human being. And because they're frozen down, the pain is lessened, and it's a bit like going into cryotherapy, really.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
in the same way, because what happens is the endomorphins in your brain operate in a different way, and so you have a different pain threshold. Now, I know, Rach, before you say it, I know that the man's threshold is marginally smaller than the lady's threshold, which is why we're officially allowed to have man flu these days. But in true medical terms, if you do freeze the body down, the endomorphins in your head do change dramatically and can create all sorts of wonderful... They can actually fix parts of your body without a medical person there, just because of the way the endomorphins work.
I love humans. I'm such a science nerd. I really enjoy human body.
So do I. It's phenomenal, and I love. Yeah. I've met the doctor in Aqua City, Jan Potowski, and he's so good at explaining stuff. And when you think, and this really supports your theory. My son had quite a bad football accident 2 or 3 years ago, damaged his ankle, lots of ligament damage, blah-de-blah, and it stopped his career, basically, in football. Not that stopped him having a career, because he's not like that. But he had 5 treatments of cryotherapy here last July, and in September he was back playing with the amateur football side again. Because it was just the cold and seriously, boys and girls, this doctor stands there with what looks like a gun, and it's even shaped like a gun, and it just freezes you down. You can't keep your hands under it for a long period of time. He's cold.
But if you get injured in Australia, you're pretty well in big trouble.
I think you could be right. This next job it's a job I have to do. It pains me immensely because it is quite tragic. One of our wonderful people on RTI is a gentleman called Pete Dix, who does the superb programme Beatles and Beyond. Today's programme, I'm sorry to say, will be a repeat because Pete's young son, only in his 30s, passed away this week after a long fight with cancer. The thoughts and prayers of everybody in the RTI with you, Pete, and your family. And take some solace, my friend, from the fact that James is now in a better place. He won't be in pain anymore because the pain he was going through was terrible. And just keep putting the really nice pictures up on Facebook, Pete, because that's a wonderful thing to do. And God bless to you all.
Yeah, definitely.
We take a breath and we move on. One of the charismatic ladies of English critic was a lady called Rachel Hayhoe Flint. And I always used to take the mickey out of her name, but there you go. She was also vice president of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club, real sporty girl, and she died at the age of 77. But she was one of those people that was just an influence, even down in Australia.
She was.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just a force to be reckoned with. I knew her because she began working as a journalist when she got a little bit, over the top for her sporting career. Yeah. And she really was one of the most charming, erudite, intelligent, witty women you could ever come across. But she had this fire inside her that made her want to be the best at everything she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's what she did in sport. She changed the face of sport. She made it acceptable for women to be involved in the masculine pursuits of sport.
And she became a member of the MCC as well.
She was. I thought that said microphone, but yeah.
And believe it or not, 1976, Rach, she played in the first ever Test match at Lord's against Australia.
She did, and won.
No comment from Rach at that point.
She biffed them.
She biffed them.
I didn't even hear you. That's why I didn't comment.
Oh, right,
yeah. Well,
we don't have to listen, Rach.
Everybody.
Sorry, I'm not listening.
Australia. Everybody's biffing Australia in the cricket, so that's okay.
That's all right. William Peter Blatty, who's the author of The Exorcist, he's died as well, and I'll hand that one over to Leigh.
Well, yeah, he had a good innings, the old chap who died at 89, and he was one of those people. He did different things, but the thing that he was really known for was The Exorcist, which set the world on biblical fire back in the early 70s. And I remember protests on the street outside cinema. I remember going to see the film with my erstwhile ex-wife, and we were actually stopped in the queue outside the cinema and told not to go in because we would become the possessed.
Really?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That was true, it turns out, wasn't it?
Yeah. very much so.
I'm talking about you. I'm talking
that
about
was his effect
opinion.
on the world.
That's right.
Not too much after, but he did all right. Yeah.
Johnny Walker, not the broadcaster, I hasten to add, who was the Concorde test pilot, has died, which is really rather sad. I should be wearing my Concorde cufflinks, really, to commemorate it, shouldn't I?
Good, yes.
I'd take it on the nose. Yeah, it's just, it's sad, isn't it? It's sad. These people are iconic people. They're not something that they've not particularly changed the world, but to be the man who who was the test pilot of Concorde is brilliant. Down the road from us is the first bloke who drove down the M6. He was the first man to drive on the M6, the big major motorway in Britain. And at the end of the day, he drove his Morris Oxford down an empty road. There isn't anything to it, really. But what an iconic thing to be able to say you did in your life. And
That's right. That's right. And the connection for me is my godfather was actually, which was British Aerospace at that time, in Stevenage. He was part of the development team for Concorde.
Yeah. I don't remember saying.
Yeah. And they were all presented with cufflinks when the plane took off. And he very kindly gave them to me, and I still have them. They're lovely, absolutely gorgeous things. 6 Britons, including a 2-month-old baby boy, have died, with several other people being injured in a minibus in Saudi Arabia. 4 members of the family were from Manchester, and a Glasgow couple died on their way back from a pilgrimage to Mecca, which is incredibly sad. We will keep on moving a bit. This is a shocking story of a mother and her partner who allowed a 4-year-old kid to eat drugs for months, which led to her death. This poor little child was taking heroin, diazepam, methadone, ketamine, the whole lot, and she actually, at 4 years old, she suffered a cardiac arrest, a heart attack.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got 13 years.
Well, what are you saying, that they should have got more for it? I think they should. I think 13
I think they should
years.
have. I think they should have unrelieved life.
Life for life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just shocking. The way the courts act in Britain today is just outrageous. These people, think about it. Don't think about anything. Just think. These people gave birth to a child and then fed it killer drugs until he died. And the judge says, it's not so bad, mate. Yeah, but you'll have to do 13 years, but you'll be out in 6.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it's horrific. Again, we will try and get as much news in as we can for you, boys and girls.
We've actually missed something really important, Uncle Eric.
What's
Gene
that?
Cernan died this week.
Sorry?
Gene Cernan died this
He
week.
did.
He did.
That's supposed to be on the list, and I forgot to send it to you. I suppose. We all know who he is. 61 and dead.
I know, that was horrific, wasn't it?
61?
Yeah,
No,
61.
Gene Cernan was the last man to walk on the moon.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the wrong person.
You're talking about Miguel Ferrer.
That's
Is that
true.
right, Greg? I wasn't listening.
Miguel Ferrer, he wasn't listening, you numpty. As I say, we will carry on. A lot of people had to cancel their holidays this year. Thomas Cook flew most of them back from the Gambia. There was about 500 people on package tours, 2,000 people on their own holiday booking system into Gambia. And the reason for the big hoo-ha and getting everybody back is the technically former president has refused to stand down, and he's been the president for 22 years since a coup, and it makes me think, what is he trying to hide? There's been elections there. There should have been a standard sort of handover to the now elected president. He has taken the oath and he's technically the president now. There's a whole bunch of troops down there in Africa on the border or inside, and right at this moment in time, as this program goes out, there is really a deadline for this guy to get out. And if he doesn't get out, troops are going to go in and get rid of him. So I'm just praying that everything comes out nicely, because the Gambia needs that money from tourism to help it prosper. And it stops, listen, guys, it stops the terrorists getting in. You don't want them in there. So get rid of that bloke out of the way, get the one that's elected in, and get all the people coming back to tourism. That's what we want. David Davis has lashed out at EU threats to punish Britain. Oh, please. I despair.
Why? What's up with that?
I despair. I really do.
Say why.
I'm going to have another cup of coffee in a minute with double coffee in it.
No, don't get more agitated.
This is true. The bottom line is this. It doesn't matter what the EU says. It doesn't matter what the UK says. At the moment, everybody's standing up, pretending they're an alpha male, puffing their chest out. Well, apart from Mrs. Macy, she's puffing her chest out anyway. But that's a different reason. Ho, ho, ho. And nobody has sat down round the table yet and started the conversation. Because, guess what? They can't. They actually can't.
Would you like some consultants?
Yeah, yeah. Rachel's pitching for them every week, because until we find out next week if the Supreme Court is going to allow the government of the UK to push forward Article 50, you can't find out what's going to happen. Now, if that isn't the case, then it has to go to Parliament, and that takes it even longer, yada, 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 and nobody knows what will happen. What I can tell you will happen, and this is something about politics that people just don't get. They don't get it. And it was a wonderful... I'm sure I've told this story before, and if not, Leigh will correct my knowledge of the programme, I'm sure. It was a programme with an actor called Nick Berry in it, who used to be in, I think, Coronation Street, if I remember rightly.
EastEnders.
EastEnders, was it? Thank you. And he became the harbour master in this fishing area. And what was the programme called, Leigh? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
But you know the programme, yeah?
No, I don't even know the programme. I don't watch rubbish like that.
Well, anyway, he played this very, all good doing harbour master. And there was two other characters in the particular sort of sitcom, dramery sitcom, whatever you want to call it. And one of them was the town mayor. And he was your stereotypical snobby politician. Hadn't done very well at anything, so he became a politician. The other guy...
Harbour Lights, it was called, dear.
What was it? Harbour Lights. That's the one, Harbour Lights, thank you. And
1998 to 2000. How do you remember that? He only had 2 years run. He only did
I'm good, you see, my memory works. Anyway, the other guy was the businessman of the town that had all the money. So on one occasion, the mayor said, look, I need to retire. Come into my office, which was the toilet, and said to him, look, if you clean up your act, and if you do this and you do this, I'm going to back you to be the next mayor of the town. To which he replied, I don't need you. I've got more money than you've ever got. And why do I want to be mayor for anyway? It's a rubbish job. And he put him down because he was the businessman. And this is the bottom line. Business will control what happens with Brexit, whether it's in the front line or in the back line. People will carry on doing deals. Are you telling me that the biggest marketplace for BMW, which is made in Germany with hundreds of thousands of people working there, which happens to be the UK market, they're going to go, oh, right, we're just going to agree to tariffs. We're going to stop people buying BMWs in the UK and put 200,000 people out of work. Not going to happen.
Yeah, but your argument was about what David Davis said.
But it's a stupid thing to even start with.
No, it isn't. Of course it isn't. How can you say that? Because
they are not... The politicians are dreaming. The fact is, the German people will not allow the threat of BMWs not being sold in England because of tariffs to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, but that's not what David Davis is saying. David Davis is saying that Europe is in a position to make things difficult for us. The individual firms and companies could make any deal they want, but the tariffs and everything else that could be put on put it up against Britain are the way that Europe could punish us for what probably is the beginnings of the end of the European community. And that's what he was saying. What Piers blog said last night is that obviously what people are forgetting, and this is what he was indicating, is that America has already said that we will be at the front of the queue for any kind of business deal. So at the moment, in a purely business-like fashion of saber rattling and saying we're not worried, David Davis made a good political and business point by saying, stuff you, Europe. If you're going to cause us grief, you will be the ones who regret it. I admire the man for saying that.
Well, I kind of do for that, but the politicians are just being stupid. The German electorate...
Stupid. That's what they put on this earth to be, stupid.
The German electorate will not allow, via whoever it happens to be, for the EU to do something to stop their car industry. It's not going to happen.
It's about to collapse, and that's what everybody's worried about.
Of course,
and it's one reason we got out. We got out by default, by accident, because we didn't think that anybody would vote us out, but we thought we'd do a lot of shouting and be awkward, and it happened. But now looking into it, you can see where all the cracks are showing.
Do you know what I wish would happen? Do you know what? There was a great organisation called EFTA, which was the European Free Trade Association.
Yeah.
And it still exists, actually, and it was set up around the same time. It has no politics in it. It's just business people agreeing a set of terms. And it enables people to move around, just like we did before the EU was all joined up and squidgied up and everything else. And the fact is, and this is what annoys me so much, there's people talking about the free movement of EU citizens. Wrong! There isn't now.
No, of course there isn't.
There isn't now. I can only live in Slovakia because I have a Slovak ID card. If I didn't have one, after 90 days I have to leave or I'm an illegal alien. Well, I was anyway. No, an alien maybe.
You only look like an alien. You're not really one.
No, but
don't say that on yourself.
These people do not look at the whole picture and therefore mislead the electorate again. Sorry.
I agree.
I'm ranting, aren't I?
Entirely. You were having a little rant. It was very interesting, and it was done in a lovely, lovely ranting voice.
Thank you. I must move on. Apple has hiked its prices again.
We have to move on to that.
Yeah, we have to do it quickly. Just to tell everybody that App Store products that used to cost 79p in the UK will now cost 99p. You poor people.
But hang on. What? It says here that this has become a price parity between the dollar and the pound. 99p ain't 99 cents.
I know. I rest my case. I rest my
case as well then.
Thank you very much. A US TV station has been inundated with calls after some presenters' remarks on the television, which told people to go to Amazon and buy dolls' houses. Well, of course, those silly things that you see advertised on the TV where it goes, Alexa, can you... Oh, I'm going to do it now, just in case. If anybody's got an Alexa at home, I want to know if it works. Alexa, hang on. Alexa, order me a doll's house. Actually, no, Alexa, order me 2 dolls' houses, please. And let's see if anybody gets an order. That'd be
Alexa, order me a blow-up doll, please.
Oh, no. I knew.
You don't have to say please to Alexa.
You have to. Oh, no, you don't actually. No, you don't. So anyway, what happened was a lot of the people watching the TV at home with these boxes, all of a sudden, marvellous orders were arrived. But the good thing is Amazon's going to give everybody their money back and not worry too much about it. Gmail is something that Mr. Banks has brought up. I hope you got an email from yourself this morning, Leigh.
I did. I got 2. Was that you?
Maybe.
Because I didn't open them because I thought it might be a thing. I thought that's what it was. It's just
A virus.
There's emails going around for Gmail that look like real emails. It's an old story, but it's appeared in my life. That's why I put it on. And if you click it, you go to a phishing site. It's nothing to do with like those people who go fishing. It's fishing with a PH, and it fishes all your details, and it can read all your emails. So this morning, Derek's quite right, and I didn't say anything to it because I didn't know. I had 2 emails from me.
It's lucky that I'm a nice person, not a black person, isn't it? I mean, as in a black hacker, not a white. I'm a white hacker. Yeah, something like that.
Lee's sitting there scratching his head, going, "How much did I drink?"
Yeah, what was in that bottle last night? And the truth is, boys and girls, what I was trying to demonstrate to you is that hackers can do this. They can take your email and sometimes the thing that Lee's talking about will actually look like it's come from you. You know, it's a mail come back and so you...
So it was you. You did hack me.
Yes.
Just to make a point. Hacked without malice.
Hacked without malice at all.
It's a good job I didn't open them. Why? What would have happened to me? Would I have exploded?
No. It would have just said ha ha in it. Got ya.
Because you thought I was stupid enough to open something that I didn't know where it had come from.
Yeah, probably.
A Nigerian prince would have turned up and offered to wash your car.
No, I think I started it off like all the spams. Dear beloved.
He did. That's what he said. I thought, my mother's not written to me. That's what she calls me. Dear beloved.
But it also, if you do reply to it, Leigh, like a lot of these things, you'll find that when you go to reply to them, the email address changes, and as you would see on yours, Leigh, it does change. But that's just me being a naughty boy. But you know, the thing is, boys and girls, if you are at all nervous, just get a teenager to look at it for you. Probably the best thing to do.
Or an 8-year-old. Get an 8-year-old. They're really good.
Well, actually, we've got an advert, or the UK's got an advert for 7-year-olds.
There you go. See?
Yeah. Very quickly, Sir Paul McCartney is taking legal action against Sony ATV as he wants to get back the rights to the Beatles songs that he wrote with John Lennon. And Sony is sort of kind of trying to be a bit nice, and we have a lovely relationship with him, but there's still going to be a lawsuit carry on. Music festivals could be saving Australia's failing towns, Rachel.
Interesting.
Yes, they could, but the problem is that they're rampant with drugs and crazy people. That's the problem. The police resources that have to go to festivals now, but just because of recreational drugs, is enormous. But they do. People turn up to these great big, huge outdoor events in these country towns, and it injects the local economies with huge amounts of money, that's great. But just don't take your drugs, kids. You can have fun without them.
Well, you don't. Don't need it.
No, you don't.
Actually, Leigh, I'll get a plug-in.
What? Plug-in? You're having a plug-in? What?
Yeah. Music is the drug.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And yes, I agree. And those 20,000 Elvises that you see at these things, if you don't take drugs, they're still there.
Mobile phone EE has been fined £2.7 million by the regulator in England, Ofcom, for overcharging tens of thousands of customers. So if you are an EE customer, do go and have a check of your bill and make sure it's right. because they were overcharging you like a ton of bricks.
I know, naughty.
It was something like a couple of quid against a few pennies.
Why are they named after a donkey?
I don't know.
You get your bill and you go,
And
then if you're really upset, you go, ee-aw.
You have a serious news programme for one day.
It was really serious for ages.
it was too serious.
Rachel said she wasn't listening, and that started it all off.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, a man has shot himself in the spine to end agonising pain.
Terrible.
But
More pain. That's terrible.
yeah, he got jailed for possessing a gun.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't this how ludicrously ridiculous our courts are, like we said 10 minutes ago? This bloke, Paul Davis from Sidcup in Kent, I got this really, really bad back problem. For some inexplicable reason, I'm not defending what he did in any way, but he was in so much agony and probably twisted in the head because of this, he shot himself in the back where it hurt. Well, people should be sympathetic. This poor bloke was in such agony, he shot himself. But he didn't know we put him in jail because he'd got a gun.
Oh, he needed help.
Well, he still needs help. He's shot himself in the back. He must be round the bend. No need to go to jail.
This is why I'm so incensed. You've got a guy who should be in jail ploughing people over with his vehicle.
Well
You've got
said.
people murdering a child who should be in jail for the rest of their lives. And this poor old fella, he didn't even hurt anybody, just himself. And what do they pinch him for?
Possession of a firearm.
Possession of fire.
Stupid.
He also possesses a big hole in his back where it hurts.
Yeah, I should think.
Yeah.
Well, he's got no chance for the future. Really. Well, no. I rescind that remark. Bearing in mind what's been going on with the skeletoid stuff and other technologies recently, it may well be that he can maybe get up again one day. You never know.
Well, maybe that's why he did it, so that somebody would fix it.
And he'll write a book, and there'll be a film made of it, and he'll become really, really rich.
From prison, where they'll give him 25 years, because that's the way the justice system works.
You shot yourself in the back. If you'd have shot somebody else, we'd have only put you away for 6 months. Shooting
That's
yourself
right.
is the equivalent to suicide. You go
It does rather annoy me, to say the least. I was going to do the story about the Waking Dead, but I can't be bothered because
The
it's...
Walking Dead, and it's a very important story.
Go on then.
Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah. The complaining. They're complaining. These are the people who walk around like zombies. That's what they do, literally. Walk around like zombies. And they don't say anything. They just eat each other now and again for a laugh. And they're complaining that they don't get paid as much as everybody else. Well, that's because you're zombies!
Get a real job.
Actually, there's a very good friend of mine who was in Werewolf in Paris.
Yeah, that's a really
great
old
movie.
film.
Right, and she actually only got from the movie 1 day's pay as an extra.
Wow.
Do you know why?
Why?
Well, she was the lady in the metro train that was eaten by the werewolf, and because she didn't get any sort of speaking bit, she got 1 day's pay as an extra, and that was it.
That's all you get, though, as a former actress. As
What's
a
she
actress,
complaining
I gotta
about?
tell you,
Oh no, I do.
you get more money. You get more money when you speak.
That's
if
right.
you don't speak, you get a standard rate. It's a minimum 4-hour call.
Yep.
So you get paid for 4 hours at the least, about $25-26 an hour usually, and that's how it works, Uncle Eric.
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't
No, she
hard
doesn't
to buy,
complain.
that's
I
how it
must say, Adrian doesn't complain about it. Bless her. She just always thinks it's kind of funny. Anyway, after all that, Rachel, are you doing anything special this weekend?
No, not really. I'm going to Adelaide next week, so I won't be with you next week because I'll be out of town. But I'm going on a little holiday to see my parents, and then I'll be back the week after.
Nice one. Oh, well, you have a nice time doing that.
Oh,
Thank you. It was our wedding anniversary yesterday, our first wedding anniversary. So Robbie and I might have a dinner or something this
That'd
weekend.
be nice.
oh, that's so nice.
I did see the pictures from New York. It was very, very nice. Very,
They
very
were.
nice. Was
Nice.
nice. Leigh, very quickly,
What?
say goodbye.
Oh no, I can't tell the people about my life then.
No.
All right then. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. And we'll see you two again in 2 weeks' time. One of you, you get the drift. That was it from Postcard from Poprad. I'm sure it'll be a totally different show next time. Again, thank you to Tom Rivers for giving us his time from ABC and an insight into what's going on in America right now. It's shocking, really, isn't it? We have to say goodbye. So that's it, really.